So recently I was talking with a friend about stealth games and he was asking me what I played and I was like, yeah, I love Splinter Cell. I played that when I was a kid. I still have to play some of the sequels, but I loved it. And he was like, have you ever played Metal Gear Solid though? And I was like, well, I've tried, but I've never finished like any games in the saga. And he told me, yo, you're not a true gamer if you've not played Metal Gear Solid. Why are you even giving me your opinions about life at all if you've not played the best game ever? To which I answered, look, motherfucker, have you ever played Neighbours From Hell? Like Portal and Tetris, I played this game when I was super young, and it kinda shaped how I see both stealth and puzzle games, because it's technically both of them. But unlike those two massive hits, it's kind of a cult classic. Like, if you ask someone if they know this game, they either say, oh yes, I love it, or they think you made this game up. Because, like, if I have to describe this game in a few words, it would be home intrusion simulator, cross reality show simulator, cross puzzle game, cross stealth game, cross Tom and Jerry-like shenanigans. It's very weird. That's why people sometimes think I'm making this up. That's fair if you're one of my friends, because you know that I'm going to make games up just to mess with you sometimes. It do be like that. I grew up in a small town, you get easily bored, but this game is real. I didn't make this up. This video game was released in 2003 on Windows computers, and I got to play it a few years later because back then, me and my sister either got games from like cereal boxes or from our relatives, like random stuff that was passed down to us, or la crème de la crème was whatever we found on demo discs from magazines. I managed to find Neighbours From Hell in one of these demo discs. It was just a few levels. I installed it on our family computer, and me and my sister were hooked. We played through those demo levels over and over again, and we kind of forgot about it for a while after that, until sometime later we visit one of our relatives and he has the full game, but it's not the PC version, it's the GameCube version that apparently was only released in Europe and only came out on GameCube and Xbox. I guess they noticed the game was selling pretty well, and in 2005 they decided to port it over to consoles, but not the PlayStation 2, only the losers consoles, which we owned. We didn't have a PlayStation 2, but we had both of them, so we got this GameCube copy from a relative, we played over and over again, and it was exactly as good as we remember, and there were extra levels too, and everything was great. Eventually, over the years, we managed to play the actual PC versions of the game, the complete ones, and to this day, this game is one of my core memories. This is one of the most interesting stealth games that I've ever played, and unfortunately, due to it coming out before the era of the indie, so being a small budget game that had to go through the entire process of conventional developer, conventional publisher, coming out in 2003, back when YouTube was not even a thing and new games were mostly featured on actual physical paper magazines. So this game being made and published by Jovod in Austria, it was basically region locked to the whole European region. It was also very big in Russia, like insanely big to the point where things got weird, but we'll get to that later. Back to Europe, if I ask my sister, my cousins, my IRL friends, they usually know what this game is. But when I ask my other relatives in Australia, for example, or my American or British friends, they have no idea what I'm talking about usually. So I guess here's a video where I'm going to tell you that this game is genius and why. No, okay, I can't name it that. Okay, what about Hitman, but with no kills? And more slapstick. Yeah, that works. At least I'm not calling it the best stealth game you've never played. But first, a message from today's sponsor, Aura. Have you ever tried Googling your name or email address? Because if you do, you might stumble upon some unsettling results. Old home addresses, your phone number, heck, sometimes straight up combo lists containing your email paired with your password, just there for the world to see and for anyone to try and use for whatever nefarious purpose. How the hell did your data end up there? Well, sometimes it's hacking, but more often than not, it's data brokers. They are legally able to collect and sell your personal information without your permission or knowledge, which is how your inbox gets flooded with spam and how anyone can potentially get all this data about you just by Googling it. And that's where today's sponsor, Aura, comes in. Aura automatically removes your personal information from these websites and works to keep it off the internet for good. And it's a full security suite. So for example, if your data shows up on the dark web, including in combo lists, they'll alert you about that. You'll get real-time fraud alerts. For your credit and bank account, there's a built-in VPN, there's a password manager, there's an antivirus, 24/7 US-based support, and you're covered with a $5 million identity theft insurance in case anything happens. And you can try all of this right now with a 14-day trial using the link aura.com/fami. And there's also a link in the description, by the way. Thanks to Aura for supporting the channel, and now back to the video. So, just to be clear, what I'm talking about right now is the first PC version of the game, the first game that came out on computers in 2003. This is the Windows version, it's not the Xbox version or the GameCube version, it's the OG game, which is the first time they tried and I think perfectly landed the formula of the game. That's what I'm talking about right now. I will be using some close-ups from the new remastered version that recently came out, just because it makes it easier to explain some stuff without having to like fight with pixels. However, I am talking about the OG formula when it comes to the gameplay. I'll talk about the remastered version later, I'll talk about why I think they're missing the mark, but right now we have to focus on one thing, and that thing is, what the f is Neighbours From Hell? You are this guy, Woody, and there's no backstory about him. For all we know, he might have been some kind of Serbian war criminal, but it doesn't matter, we don't care. The only thing we care about plot-wise is that Woody has a very annoying and violent neighbor named Mr. Rottweiler, because it's the early 2000s, people are buying Ferrari flip phones, and sad Ferraris literally have Marlboro sponsors on them. It's a very loud, clear, transparent era, so if a guy is named Mr. Rottweiler, he's a f***ing asshole, that's what the game is telling you. Woody, being fed up of having to deal with this guy, decides to do the most rational thing ever, becoming a home intruder, studying the daily routine of his victim, and when he's ready, prank him! And I can't stress enough how much work the word prank is doing here. And since it's 2003, the whole thing is a reality show, so yeah, I guess you're canonically committing heinous crimes on camera and everything is okay. I mean, Fox, the year prior, did air a game show where contestants were answering questions in a literal torture chamber, so I guess this would be fair game. Now that you're up to speed on this very complex and very interesting plot, we can finally talk about the gameplay, and it's Hitman without the hits or the man. I mean, there's a man, but he's not bald, so does he really count? When you start a level or episode, you illegally enter your neighbor's house. Thankfully, this game was made in Austria. The Florida version would be basically a speedrun. But yeah, after you enter the house, you have this timer starting to count down, and within that time limit, there is a series of pranks that you have to pull on your neighbor. And the whole thing is a non-linear sandbox, so just like in Hitman, you have a very vague target. You know how many pranks you can pull in a given level, and every single prank makes your rating higher, and there's a minimum rating that you have to hit in order to complete an episode. But literally everything else is up to you. You have to hide, study the routine of your neighbor, which thankfully is a loop, so once you learn it, you can just act upon it. And then, without getting caught, you have to wander around the house, gather any tools or whatever you can use in order to prank your neighbor, figure out how they interact with other objects that he's using, set up the pranks, and then wait for the payoff. Every successful prank is like a kill in Hitman, except way more slapstick, and you're not killing anyone canonically. I mean, you're getting close. Your goal is to pull as many pranks as possible in succession in the shortest amount of time, because if you do that, then the ratings are gonna get higher and higher, and maybe you'll even win the Golden Neighbor. These are definitely two of the awards that I've received in my life. Something they don't teach you in school is that you can take a screenshot of the award here and actually add it to your CV, and it can actually help you stay unemployed. The whole game is very 2000s, okay? It doesn't take itself seriously at all. Every character is extremely ugly on purpose, and you're basically interacting with a slapstick cartoon. You don't have to think about the implications of what you're doing. You're going from banana peels to literally trying to electrocute him with a live wire. Whoopee cushion, destroying his masterpiece of a composition forever. And again, it's a very simple game. It doesn't take itself seriously at all. You can literally play it with one hand while using the other one to cook the beat you're listening to now. But I swear, the way you use your brain while playing it is basically the same as when you play Hitman. Like in Hitman, you get to exploit the entire Groundhog Day time loop, so you know exactly to the second what's going to happen, and you get to exploit your knowledge to become a super, well, you're not an assassin, but you're like the most annoying person in the world. I guess that's the goal here. And it's very, very addicting. You start playing and then you go back because you're missing a prank or two, you want to figure out how to pull those, and you keep playing and suddenly you finish the first season, the second season, the first season, and the game is over. Yeah, I kinda forgot to mention it's a very short game. It doesn't take a lot for you to unlock and complete every single episode if you only stick to doing the bare minimum, only getting the minimum amount of pranks required. But if you actually want to try out every single prank on every single level, you're gonna have to go back and replay some episodes, because some pranks can only be performed in a specific order, which essentially puts your neighbor in the position to actually be pranked. Let me show you what I mean. If I open this drawer right here, I'm going to find a mouse trap, okay? And if I put this mouse trap here in the leather box, that's one very simple prank, because now he's gonna come downstairs, stick his hand inside of here, and yeah, that's one prank. He's now going to run to the bathroom here on the left to get medicated. And normally that's a very simple prank. However, if I restart the episode now, before setting up the mousetrap here, I actually go to the bathroom. I take the toilet paper from the holder here, and I clog the toilet with it. Like this, okay? I have to wait now before I get out, or he's going to beat me up. I'm going to use the marker pen here to also do this to his mom's portrait, and then finally set up the mousetrap. Okay, so that's prank number 1. Again, he's going to run here to the left to medicate his hand, but that's prank number 2, and we are probably causing him a heart attack of some sorts. And that's prank number 3. We basically chained 3 pranks, and this only works if you do it in the right order, because you gotta have him walk towards the corridor here and then to the bathroom to check the toilet, or well, you can't execute the prank. He's not going to be here. Going forward, in some levels, you also have animals that warn your neighbor about an intruder and make him rush inside the room, and the only way to avoid getting caught if that happens is walking slowly using the right-click button, but if you do that, you're gonna have less time to escape, so it's always a balancing act, and again, to my brain, it really gives me Hitman vibes, even though it doesn't look like it at all, and it really doesn't sound like Hitman. Let's start with a basic kick pattern. We layer a closed hi-hat, and then a snare, and then out of nowhere the bongos. Donkey Kong will be proud, and we finally add a shaker. And now we have the bass beat, so we need to add some trumpets! Bass! Let's layer a guitar and a rock organ, and take it away from here! Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that the entire OST of the first game is a banger. But Femi, why are you comparing this to Hitman? Like, I get where you're coming from, but the entire game is spent inside one house. While in Hitman, you're always traveling. Well, me. Let me introduce you to... Yeah, so during the past few weeks, I've been trying to find out how many copies of Neighbours From Hell were sold between 2003 and 2004, and I can't find anything about it. Considering everything that I've already mentioned, I don't expect this to have been a huge success. However, this game comes from the era of the low-budget game. Back in the early noughts, it was very common for video game companies to work on smaller projects with a smaller budget, sold at a lower price compared to any other PC games. And this kind of games did not require a lot of time or resources to be made. Therefore, in order to turn a profit, they wouldn't need to sell millions of copies, and I think that's what happened here. A lot of these low to mid-budget games, when made in Europe, were colloquially known as Eurojank, and this term has gained a weird reputation because sometimes you get stuff like this, but sometimes you get the first Hitman, which was a low-budget game. It was way too ambitious with what he wanted to do, but slowly, and I mean slowly, have you ever played Hitman 2? The characters change names between scenes. They are not even keeping the continuity right. With time and patience and money, it developed into one of the best games that you can play today. The current Hitman, like the Hitman 1, 2, and 3 saga, is insanely good. It's super refined, it's a totally unique experience, and the reason we got it, the reason it's here today is because back then, some Euro developers with basically no money were trying to do something cool. The very first Neighbours From Hell is unmistakably classic Eurojank. The €1 million question then is, did Joe Wood manage to improve on the core gameplay with the second game, or... The game is built on the same engine, and at a first glance it looks basically identical, except for the fact that this time you're actually stalking your neighbor and his family around the world. You're actually following him on vacation throughout China, India, and Mexico, and you're also going to have to deal with his mother being there, which is elder abuse, I think. I would say that the game is a bit harder compared to the first one, because now you have to account for these new NPCs, and some, like Olga, which is your neighbor's love interest, are not bothered by you, while his mom, for example, is very bothered by you. And the NPCs are only there to serve as a proxy to inflict more suffering on your neighbor. You're not doing anything to them because you hate them. You're basically only using them. The more you think about this, the more it's weird, so let's just move on. But the reason I would say that this game is harder and I don't is that the developers overcompensated for these new features by making everything else so much easier, to the point where the whole experience feels diluted. Like in the first game, if you get caught, it's over. You have to start all over again. Same goes for the time running out. But here you get 3 lives, and
a timer. And you can also often get the same items to pull the same pranks over and over again, and they also made the puzzles way easier. The whole game is more of the same, but not really, because it's so much easier, it ruins the vibe.
Also, the music of the second game is considerably worse. It's still recycling some tracks from the first game, which is good, but they have added some new tracks for the different locations, and they are the laziest shit ever. Bro straight up went, oh, it's set in China?
I will say one good thing about Neighbours From Hell 2, and that is that they added some minigames, and I think they're fine. They're not disrupting the gameplay. And I will say that if you're craving more levels after finishing the first game, it's still worth playing. But Neighbours From Hell is Hitman without the kills. Neighbours From Hell 2 is not. It doesn't feel like that to me, at least. So what happened after Neighbours From Hell 2? Did Jowood keep making these games? Did they improve on the concept? Did they try to make a good Neighbours From Hell 3? Yes and no. We did get 2 new Neighbours From Hell games in 2005 and 2010, but they were unfortunately just console ports. The first one is the GameCube/Xbox one that I already mentioned, and the second one is... it's actually pretty cool. It's a Nintendo DS port, but it's only including the levels from the second game. The GameCube and Xbox version has a collection of levels from both games, but unfortunately, the problem with both console versions is that they took the simplified gameplay loop from the second game and made that the standard even for the other levels. Jowood tried to compensate by adding new game modes like the Classic and Impossible mode. The Classic mode lets you play in a very close way to the original PC version with 1 life, very similar to the first PC version, but not really identical to it because of the timer and because of several changes to the gameplay. And also the Impossible mode, which basically only lets you progress if you get every single trick right in the right order at once. Which, I mean, these two together feel like a collective replacement for this single game mode that really worked well in the first game. So I think the first game in its PC version was a one-hit wonder. They tried to replicate it, but it wasn't the same. That said, where is Jowood today? Bankrupt. After looking into why Jowood went bankrupt, the better question would be how the did they stay in business for so long? They had so many problems, so much stuff going on at the same time. They filed for bankruptcy in January of 2011, with their assets being acquired by Nordic Games, which is now THQ Nordic, in August. Nordic then proceeded to make several ports of Neighbours From Hell 1 and 2 to platforms like iOS and Android, which seem to be pretty faithful to the original games, so if you want to play the first game on your phone, I guess that's an option. And then in 2020 they released this, Neighbours Back From Hell, which is a remake of the first console port, and it's basically the dream remaster because they ported everything to Unity, so this game is playable on every modern platform. It's running in 4K at 60 FPS, but unfortunately, there's a problem. They only included the new gameplay loop, the one with the 3 lives and the timer, and it doesn't feel right at all. You don't get any classic or impossible mode here, you only get that. And they also changed the minigames. Now you have a slot machine instead of the pin thing. And it's sad because the game looks great. It runs great. It's super polished. It sounds awesome. The music is perfect. The gameplay is not there. So if anyone from THQ Nordic is watching this and wants to bring back the original gameplay mode, that would be great. However, when you buy that game on Steam now, you're also getting on PC the old games. So just go and play those. Play the first game, play the first version of the game on PC. Before I close the video, there is one thing that I need to mention because it's very unique and it connects to the topic of a video that I'm working on. If you go to Wikipedia and you look up Neighbours From Hell, and then you switch the language to Russian, you're gonna see Neighbours From Hell 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. And none of them were made by Jowood. The first 2 Neighbours From Hell games were published in Russia by a company named Rusobit, which, amid various piracy scandals, was mostly known for localizing and distributing foreign games inside Russian-speaking countries. After Neighbours From Hell 2 came out and Jowood wasn't making any new games, Rusobit basically decided to do something that I've rarely seen happen. They took over the brand and made their own sequels, skipping Jawwood completely. I'm not saying they licensed the brand, I'm saying they just decided to pay some developers, have them work on a few sequels, and sell them under the name Neighbours From Hell 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, the game was localized in Russian as, I'm probably going to butcher this, Как достать соседа, which translates to how to annoy your neighbor, and that was the name under which the first two games were localized and sold, but since it wasn't a trademark, Rusabit could technically use it legally for their own commercial fan games. But then other companies started using the same name and making other clones of the same gameplay, and the thing became absurd when a Ukrainian company named Gem Games was working on a licensed game for a Russian TV series named 33 Square Meters, and they cloned this gameplay too. But it could have been worse. They could have been the Prince of Persia theme clone?